Hi kids, thanks for tuning in. I'm Miss Nichols and this lecture is on perception, images, and illusions, answering some big questions about how our eyes and brain work together to make meaning out of all these crazy electromagnetic waves that are flying around us. Incidentally, this is the first lecture from AP Physics 2, so this is also a good opportunity for you to kind of see a taste of what that class feels like and the level of physics that we go into in that class. So this may be a little bit of a review for you, but I want to go back through what's in your eye, because to understand how we make sense of these signals, you really have to understand what's going on inside your eye first. So this is kind of a simplified image of your eye. Still complicated, but simpler than a biologist would be able to give you details on. In any case, what happens is light goes in through your pupil, as you probably know, that dark spot in the middle of your eye, and it passes through a bunch of goo and lens and other bodily fluids that are relatively clear that I don't really know that much about, but eventually it hits the back of your eye in a spot called the retina. And that retina has two kinds of cells, cone cells and rod cells. The rod cells, which are kind of the black ones in the drawing, can detect how many pieces of light, photons of light, are being shot into them at any given time. So they're sort of the way of detecting brightness. When those cells get really excited and activated, that means we're seeing a really bright light, and when they aren't, that means we're seeing not very much light. The other cells are the cones, and you'll see you have three specific cones, red, green, and blue, which you did probably learn about, and those cones detect different colors, so different frequencies of light. Past those cells, the rods and the cones, we have nerves that go to your brain, and those nerves can detect a bunch of information and transmit it to your brain, specifically the brightness and the color of the incoming photons. But there's one other piece of information that those photons can tell you, which is really relevant to this particular topic, and that is specifically which cones and rods in your eye were the ones that noticed the light. And this matters because your brain is able to use the location of the activated cells to figure out what direction the light came from. You can kind of see in that image, that arrow, that light started down low, somewhere below your eye, and it hit a point in your retina that is up high. So when those up high cells are activated, then your brain knows that that light came from somewhere below you. You may have heard we see things upside down. This is why you've heard that before, because light that is down low actually triggers cells near the top of your retina and vice versa. So why do you have two eyes? When I ask this question to kids, most people can give me the answer, the correct answer, which is depth perception, but I think a lot of people can't tell me how or why depth perception works. Another name for depth perception is triangulation. So because your brain assumes that light travels in a straight line from that object to your retina, that means that my brain assumes that whichever cell is triggered is on a straight line to the object. So even if you had just one eye and you could see an object, you'd be able to figure out at least what direction that object is in. And you can try this. If you close one eye and have a friend hold a pencil in front of you, you can touch that pencil, but you'll probably be kind of following a track, keeping your finger on a line from your eye to that pencil. You don't know exactly where the pencil is, but you know it's on a specific line. However, if you have a second eye, well, that eye also knows that the light coming from the banana is moving in a straight line. And your brain has been doing geometry since you were really little. It actually knows that those two lines, those two angles intersect in a single point. So when you have two eyes, your brain really quickly does all these calculations and figures out exactly where that banana is located. You don't have to do this slow process. So it's much quicker to touch something or pinpoint something when you have two eyes on it to figure out where it is. And then you get the banana. There is one other reason why we have two eyes that biologists will tell you, and that is that vision is such a critical sense for humans, right? It's really challenging to get around this world with lack of vision. Not that it can't be done, we have all sorts of resources, but it's really critical. And so it's nice when you have something that's so important to your survival to have a spare. So just in case you didn't listen to your mama when she told you not to run around with scissors, we have spare eyes just in case anything happens to one of them. So if two eyes is good, why don't we have three eyes? Why don't we grow some sort of tentacle out of the side of our face and have a third eye? Well, because all of those light rays coming from that banana appear to intersect at the same point, it doesn't matter where your eyes are located. You just need two of those light rays to intersect to find the object. So maybe you just have the tentacle eye and one of those other eyes, you're still going to locate the banana on the same location. What this kind of means functionally is everybody in a room is going to agree on the location of the banana, because it doesn't matter where each pair of eyes is, they all are going to intercept at the same point. So having a third eye just adds another layer of redundancy. And I can tell you as a mother that I don't need my children to have been growing any extra body parts. 9 months was plenty. So 2 eyes is enough. 3 eyes would be more than we need. Okay, so now that we've learned about sort of how our eye takes that signal and our brain can figure out where objects are and what they're doing, the question is, how is our perception of an object different from the reality of the object? Well, our brain has learned that when we see this banana light, when we see 2 pieces of light that look like they're coming from a banana, there's always a banana there when we reach out and grab it. But what if we could create the light from a banana without actually having a banana there, right? That's actually what this screen is doing right now. That looks like a banana. You all are going to agree that's a banana, but it's not an actual banana. If you reach out and grab it, there's nothing there. You're going to bump into the computer screen. So this is an image of a banana. It has the same light, pattern of light, same color, same edges, same shape, but it doesn't actually have the real object there. So that's known as an image. What this kind of tells you is we've, as technology has developed, we've started to be able to make illusions. We've created things that look real and aren't actual real. So that's where the old saying, only trust things as far as you can throw them, comes in. That looks like a banana, but unless you can touch it and feel it and eat it, it's not really a banana. So images are really interesting in physics. The creation of different kinds of images, using different tools like mirrors and lenses to create images that can do all sorts of fascinating things. And as we've gotten more advanced, we've learned how to make a ton of different types of images. And we can classify those images according to a variety of their characteristics. The first type of image classification is called upright versus inverted. So I'm tired of looking at bananas. Let's put Khal Drogo out there. That's an upright image. And an inverted image, of course, is upside down. The second way of classifying images has to do with magnification, and it's a variable called M. When you have a magnification of 1, it means the object is the same size as the image, so that would be a person's eye, about eyeball size, hopefully, on your computer screen. And if you have a magnification of greater than 1, then we have the object being smaller than the image, which means the image is big. Or if we have a magnification of less than 1, the object is larger than image. So the image is really small. So that would be a small image if we have a magnification of 0.3. And the third way we classify images is called virtual or real. And this is really interesting. Real images are images that we can actually capture, or we can project them onto a piece of paper or a screen. So if you've ever seen a picture being projected on a screen, you've seen a real image. These real images are formed when light rays from an object converge, which means come together on a single location. You may not have known this, but you're actually making an image when you play with a magnifying glass in the sun. You know that you can use that to burn things. That's what most kids have done with magnifying glasses. But what you actually have there is an image of the sun. That's why it looks like a little round yellow ball, just like the sun. So that's actually projecting an image of the sun. The light rays from the sun are hitting that lens, and they are converging. They're coming together on that piece of wood to make a little tiny sun. It's really hot because it's taking all the sunlight that would normally be in the space of the whole magnifying glass, and it's concentrating it on a tiny little image. So the image becomes hotter than the normal sunlight would be. So that's a real image because it's actually light rays. You could try this at home, actually. There's some really fun things to do with images. You could, of course, go outside and make an image of the sun on an object. But even in front of your computer, if you have a magnifying glass, you can hold the magnifying glass in front of an image on your computer. So maybe go back to Khal Drogo or my face on the screen. And if you then hold the magnifying glass, turn off the lights in the room, and hold a piece of paper behind it, you'll actually be able to project whatever is on your screen on your paper. You can use this to make like a bigger projector for your iPhone or something of that nature. And you'll notice a couple fun things about that image. It's usually flipped upside down, and it's a pretty cool thing to do. So if you've got a few minutes and you can find a magnifying glass, I'd urge you guys to give that a try. The second kind of image is called a virtual image, and this is an image that you can't capture on a screen or paper because it's made out of something called virtual light rays, which we're not going to go into in this lecture, but we will if you take AP Physics. These light rays, or these images, are formed when rays appear to come from a location, but they don't actually exist. An example is images in mirrors. So when you look at yourself in the mirror, you appear to be behind the mirror, right? When you look at yourself in the mirror, that's the image is actually behind the mirror, but there's no person really behind the mirror. And if you went back there with a piece of paper, you wouldn't be able to catch an image of yourself. So this is a virtual image of a person doing a fun little demonstration called anti-gravity mirror, where it appears that they're levitating or flying because you can see her leg in the front and also the image of her leg in the back. That's not actually her leg back there, it's just a reflected image. You can try that at home if you can get yourself a flat mirror, or even just looking at a flat mirror and noticing the image in the back. Now that's an upright image, right? She's not flipped upside down, and the magnification of that is 1, and it's virtual. One of the funnest topics when you start to understand how your eye and brain work together is how can we mess with human perception or optical illusions. So whenever your brain's interpretation of an image or a wave disagrees with the reality of that thing, it's actually called an illusion. This is a really crazy one that just, even if you understand how it works, you still have a hard time believing it. This is not actually moving. This is a still image. But your brain thinks it's moving, and this is a complicated illusion. It has to do with the fact that your eye is attracted to edges, right? When we evolved and we were prey to like lions, for example, we notice the edges of our predators, because if you notice the outline of a lion, it's probably full of a lion inside. It's much more important to be able to see the outside, the outlines of objects, because you can pretty much figure out what things are if you know what their outlines look like. So this is an image with a whole lot of outlines. So your eye is frantically trying to see all of these little outlines because we're worried there's predators in this image. And so your eye's kind of popping around, and you also have like peripheral vision. So the retina, edges of your retina are looking for motion. And so as your eye bounces around to this thing, the eye is falsely detecting motion in all of those edges. So even though it's not moving, it actually looks like it is moving. So I think that's a pretty neat one. I'm going to attach a video too. If you've got more time, there's like a 7 or 8 minute video that has like 10 more of these illusions that are really interesting, and they're explained really well in the video. All right, so if this has piqued your interest, then I hope you'll consider taking AP Physics 2 at some point in your career to become a master of illusions. This photograph on here is something called 3D projection mapping, which is people that have actually project images onto buildings to make the buildings appear like they're alive or animated or moving. So this is imagine walking by this massive building. It's like a cathedral or something, and there's these 2 eyes, and they probably follow the people as they walk along the building. So pretty awesome. You won't necessarily be able to do that after watching AP Physics 2 or after taking AP Physics 2, but you'll be a lot closer than you are now. Hope you guys have a great summer. If I don't see you again, and I'll look forward to seeing you all in the fall.